Hey, I'm John Cannell. Today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making an easy, amazing Oreo cake. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350 so it's nice and hot. And now I'm gonna chop up 11 Oreos, it's 120 grams. These get folded into our fluffy vanilla cake and give you an amazing cookies and cream vibe that you just can't beat. I'm gonna set these aside now and grab a big bowl so we can get our dry ingredients together. Into my large bowl, I'm adding 2 cups or 240 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar. To puff things up, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm also adding a 1/4 teaspoon of salt for contrast. This really lets you taste the flavors in the cake. Oftentimes, if you have a flat dessert, just like tastes dull and sweet, it was lacking that pinch of salt to help waken things up. My scale is done. I'm gonna grab a whisk right now and mix it up. This cake, by the way, you might be wondering, why are you adding sugar and flour together? What's the deal? Normally you beat the butter and sugar together, mix in the flour. So this is the reverse creaming method, and I love this method because 1, it helps you with one of the main things that can go wrong in baking a cake, which is overmixing the batter. It is so easy to overmix your batter and end up with like a dense, gummy, sad cake, even though you followed all the other instructions nicely. With the reverse creaming method, we're gonna coat all the dry ingredients in butter, and that will prevent us from overmixing. We're not gonna activate the gluten in the flour because it's all coated with butter. It's really nice and gives you a wonderful tender crumb. Okay, that's all mixed up. Set your bowl aside, and now we're gonna grab our mixer with the paddle attachment. Into the bowl of my mixer, I'm adding 3/4 of a cup or 176 grams of softened unsalted butter. So basically, it should be room temperature on a warm day, not winter room temperature. That means I can indent into the butter fairly easily. It'll bend really nicely. And because of this nice temperature, it'll whip up beautifully. It's gonna be the same deal for our buttercream. You don't wanna start with an ice cold butter. You don't wanna have even an ice cold bowl. Your butter could be the perfect temperature, but if you're making this on a day where it's cool or you have the AC cranked and your bowl is too cold, it'll suck the heat out of your butter and you'll end up with little clumps. You don't want that. I'm gonna cream the butter just to make sure it is beautifully silky smooth and soft throughout. Just go on medium-high for maybe 30 seconds. Okay, my butter is nicely creamed, so grab your dry ingredients. I'm gonna dump the dry ingredients in right now. Now we're gonna beat the dry ingredients into the butter until we have a beautiful crumbly texture. I would say medium-low is gonna be fine. Just keep an eye on your bowl because this comes together really quickly. All right. Less than a minute of mixing, and I do wanna give the bowl one quick scrape because I could see some things getting pressed on the side. Look at that, a big clump of butter. By the way, if you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes every single week, shorts and other delicious things too. Back to mixing now that we scraped it down. This crumbly mixture is clearly not our cake batter. We have to add some wet ingredients too. So grab a medium bowl and we're gonna whisk those together. Into my medium bowl, I'm adding 3 egg whites. And if you're wondering why aren't we just using whole eggs, it's because I want this cake to be really light colored and have a wonderful contrast with those dark, rich Oreos. The yolks can get used to make any number of delicious things from flan to creme pâtissière and even French buttercream. All those are videos on my channel. There we go. To the egg whites, I'm adding 1/2 cup of whole milk and 1/2 cup of sour cream. I love using sour cream in recipes for a couple different reasons. The sour cream is a weak acid. That's gonna react with the baking soda we used earlier to puff up. And when you add any kind of a weak acid in the right amount of your baked good, it'll make the crumb so tender. It inhibits even more of that gluten from forming, so it's gonna be less bready and just more cakey and melt in your mouth. Lastly, the taste is lovely. It gives you a little bit of tang, which helps balance out the sweetness. For a lovely kiss of flavor, I'm adding a teaspoon of vanilla. Give this a quick whisk so it's nice and smooth. just fluffing up my crumbly mixture with my hand because some of it had kind of compacted into larger pieces. While mixing on low, we're gonna add our wonderful sour cream egg white situation. Mix it until it's just combined, and you can finish this off with a spatula because at the bottom, it's gonna be less milky. At the top, it'll be very, very slack. Fold this together, and right now you're really just scraping the bowl down because the bottom is a little thicker. Now we're gonna fold in that 1 cup of chopped Oreos, and you're gonna see this beautiful play of colors and flavors come together. Fold your chopped Oreos in just until they're nicely distributed. You wanna have a play of colors, and if you overmix, it can get kind of muddy. Perfect. Our batter's ready to go into our pans. You have a choice here. You can either do a tall and small 3-layer 6-inch cake, or a wider and shorter 2-layer 8-inch cake. So grab your 6-inch or 8-inch pans. Both will work really well. I buttered my cake pans. I'm adding in parchment rounds just for insurance. This guarantees that nothing is gonna stick. Now we're gonna distribute our batter into our pans. This is the moment where you're about to pour and you're gonna see, oh my gosh, there's no Oreos on the bottom. Just give it a quick mix, it'll be okay. Pour that in. This cake is such a family favorite because Brian and the kids love Oreo everything. And honestly, you're getting the best cookies and cream vibe from this. The cake itself is melt in your mouth, tender, fluffy vanilla cake, studded with these chocolate Oreos and that cream filling, and then the buttercream. Oh my gosh, we haven't gotten there yet, but I have to tell you, the buttercream is magic. Even if you're like, I don't like this cake, I don't wanna make this cake, I wanna make a plain chocolate cake or a vanilla cake. You can definitely just make this a vanilla cake by not folding the Oreos in, first of all, but the buttercream you will use on everything. It is crunchy, creamy, chocolate vanilla amazingness. You don't have to, but I'm gonna weigh these out just to make sure they're all roughly even. You could eyeball it, it's not a big deal if they're slightly different, but when they're all the same, they bake up exactly the same, and you don't have one that's overdone and one that's raw in the middle. Okay, smooth your batter in the pans so they bake really evenly. Optional, but I am adding some damp cake strips onto the edge of my baking tins. These are just going to cool the edge down so the cake bakes up really flat and has super tender edges. If you want that darkened caramelized edge on the cake, some people like a crispy cake, do not use these. But I like them because it helps you stack your cake really perfectly. You will never have to trim a domed top off. Okay, my cake layers are ready to go into the oven. 350 for 25 to 30 minutes for a 6-inch cake, or 30 to 35 for 8-inch layers. In you go. My cake layers are out of the oven and almost cool. They look beautiful, by the way, so puffy and soft. We're gonna make our frosting, and the first thing you wanna do is grab 3 sticks or 1.5 cups of unsalted butter and make sure it's the right temperature. It should be nicely softened, which means you can run your finger along it and creates a nice dent. You're not working too hard. We are going to cream this butter and fluff this butter until it goes from pale yellow to blindingly white. It's gonna be beautiful, and it's very important for American buttercream. If you don't do this step, your buttercream is gonna be kind of dense and just not silky. It's a thing that goes wrong when people make this frosting and why American buttercream has a bad reputation. Okay. 1.5 cups, 340 grams. Pop your paddle attachment down. You could use a hand mixer for this if you wanted, but you'll be hovering about for a few minutes. Okay, you're gonna beat this on medium-high for about 3 to 5 minutes, or until it is fluffy, light, and looks like a beautiful cloud. In the meantime, we have our Oreos to deal with. You want 1 1/3 cups or 165 grams of crushed Oreos. These are all my sad reject Oreos that I keep because the whole ones are what I use on camera. So pop that out. You could crush this in a sealable bag with your rolling pin. You could do it on the countertop, or you can use your food processor. Crush these so they're nice and fine. When you crush your Oreos, you really have to decide, do I want to have enchanting little bits of cookie hither and thither in every bite? Or do I want this to be uniformly crumbly and have it be nice and smooth when I pipe it? That's what you're going for. Either way, it's gonna be delicious, but I do like having slightly larger pieces just for that little crunchy texture. It's one of the high points of this cake. After a few minutes, make sure you scrape the bowl down just once. It is so soft and whipped up. It looks beautiful, but it could be even better. All right, medium high, just one more minute. It looks nice. This is beautifully whipped up, and take a look at this. It is white, creamy, glossy, and just like a cloud. So this is the same brand of butter beforehand. And you can see what the color difference is. It's so much brighter, and it's gonna give you a beautiful color on your buttercream. As far as cakes go, it's one of my most frequently asked questions. How can I get a brighter white when I'm making buttercream? And the answer is to whip your butter for 5 minutes on medium-high. It'll give you a shiny white color. For some contrast, I'm adding a healthy pinch of kosher salt. You really just cannot taste how amazing this is if there's not some salt there for balance. Otherwise, it'll be too sweet and you just won't get that depth of flavor. Now it's time to add 5 cups of powdered sugar. This is basically to taste, so you're gonna add around 5 cups. It could be a little bit less, it could even be a bit more. It's up to you. Taste the buttercream as you go. Okay. Adding 2 cups in now to get started. Mix that on low, and as it whips in, add in a drizzle of cream. I have a 1/4 cup of cold heavy cream, and I'm just drizzling that in after every batch of powdered sugar. A little bit more cream, and 5 cups. Add the last bit of cream in. And I will say this looks like a complete disaster on the inside because there's powdered sugar, there's globs of butter. We definitely need to scrape the bowl down. Scrape, scrape, scrape. After you scrape it down, give it one more mix just to make sure everything is nicely incorporated. This buttercream is perfection, but if you're making this and staging things out, I'm giving you a warning. It'll get really foamy and bubbly if you let it sit. The solution is just to give it a quick mix like this right before using. That'll fix all of your consistency issues. So this looks great. I'm gonna reserve about 2/3 of a cup right now for the dollops. Those are gonna be staying white. Set that aside, and now it's time to add our 1 1/3 cups of crushed Oreos. Let's dump that right in. All right, I'm gonna mix this on low for just a few seconds. And it's basically ready. I do need to scrape the bowl down one last time and kind of finish mixing things in, but you wanna have white buttercream with specks of dark brown throughout. Scrape the bowl down and just see if you can find any pockets of pure white or pure chocolate. And mix accordingly. Tut tut. There we go. Lovely. I let my cake layers cool completely in the pan. If you wanted, you could pop them out after 20 minutes of cooling onto a wire rack, but either way, it'd be fine. Remove your paper and place it on your cake stand. Now, having said this, this cake has a lovely, beautiful drip of ganache on top, which adds richness and looks really nice. But you can make your ganache before you assemble the cake or while you're assembling it. I'm gonna make it right now just because I want my ganache to have a beautiful drip, and that drip happens when it's the right temperature. If it's too hot, your ganache is gonna go and just fall down the cake, and it might even melt some of the buttercream. So in a heat-proof bowl, I have 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and to that, I'm adding 1/2 cup of cream. It's nice to warm your cream up ahead of time, so I microwaved this until it was steaming. Pour that over. And now we can microwave this on 50% power in 20-second bursts, stirring in between until it is mostly melted through. You don't want this ganache to be too hot, otherwise it'll take so long to cool down and it'll be very runny. So Just melt until the chocolate's mostly mixed, and then stir, stir, stir until the chocolate's mostly melted, and then set it aside. The residual heat in this bowl will melt the remaining lumps of chocolate. Just 2 bursts in the microwave later, I have a silky chocolate mixture. There are a few tiny lumps, but those are gonna disappear. And I should have said this earlier, but that half cup was like a little bit less. It was kind of between 1/3 and 1/2 because I want my ganache to be fairly thick. If you want it to be a little runnier, use a full half cup of cream. Onto my first layer, I'm gonna add about 2/3 of a cup of frosting. Maybe a little bit less. Smooth that out. This recipe has a lot of sentimental value to me. One, because my kids love Oreos and are enchanted by this cake, but 2, it's one of like the first cakes I made that was actually kind of like went out into the world and people wanted to try. It feels good to make it again. Optional, but for a bit of added richness, I'm swirling a little bit of ganache right inside. It heightens the chocolate vanilla play of flavors you get. Just don't go overboard because then the ganache will squish out. Now let's add the second layer on. So beautiful. I wish you could feel this. It's just like a cloud. It's so soft. Okay. I'm officially calling this like a heaping 1/3 of a cup. Another swirl of ganache. And our final layer goes on. This is the exact same set of steps if you're doing an 8-inch cake. It's just gonna be 1 layer of frosting in between, but you have enough frosting and ganache to do both recipes. It's time to frost the outside of the cake. I wanna tell you, the top is gonna get a very thin layer because ganache goes on there. So don't worry about getting a ton on top. It's mostly for the sides. And I have totally lost consistency, which means it's like a little bit of cold in the kitchen. My buttercream's a bit harder and it's gonna be kind of like frothy. So we're gonna whip this up, and you could add in a tablespoon or 2 of cream if needed to help slacken it up. 20 seconds of mixing and a drizzle of cream give me a beautiful, really nice consistency for decorating. So we're gonna plop this on and smooth it out. When you smooth the frosting out, it'll have a bumpy appearance, but that's just from the cookie pieces, which I find totally acceptable. It looks great, actually. This texture totally reminds me of a cookies and cream milkshake. My cake is totally covered. It could be swirled to look nice and rustic, but I'm gonna smooth it out so I have a nice base to work on. All right, pull the top in so you get a nice clean edge. Now we can add our ganache on and just take a look at it in the bowl. If it's really runny at this point, you might want to pop it in the fridge for a few minutes, give it a stir and let it cool down. It will get thicker as it cools. This looks really nice. Yeah. You can spoon your ganache over, but piping bags really give you some precision. Just snip the tip off. Gonna get a good layer on top. And smooth it to the edge with a spatula. I thought it might be too much, but it wasn't. Nothing gives me as much cake decorating anxiety as a drip cake, because there's an idea of what it should look like in my head, but it's not up to you. It's up to gravity and the drips. Scooch the frosting out to the edge. Get a nice smooth top. You have a little bit of time before the ganache sets. So now, while the drips start, you're gonna encourage them along. Just a tiny bit. The ganache has to be a little bit warm or it'll look fake. You'll be able to see that that wasn't a real drip, you made it happen. That looks nice to me. Now, this cake needs two things. A little skirt of crushed Oreos on the bottom and our dollops on top. So just add in just a little press of these crumbles. I re-whipped this buttercream, popped it into my piping bag, and now we're just gonna pipe beautiful little dollops, just like that. This ganache is right at the edge of what you can pipe on. If you're concerned, pop your cake into the fridge. Very nice. All right, chill your cake for a few minutes, then give it a slice, and it's ready to enjoy. That cake melts in your mouth. It's like the perfect vanilla cake, studded with those chocolatey Oreos, with the silky ganache. It is just a delicious cake. I hope you had a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button and check out my Oreo playlist.